My parents never visited me after the accident. I called my mom. She sighed and said, "We can't handle everything. Your sister just had her baby." A month later, my mom called again. "How are you? Your sister is stressed about the wedding. They say you discover who truly cares about you during your darkest moments." I found out at 32, lying in a hospital bed with my face bandaged and my right leg locked in a cast that felt like a block of cement. The accident happened on a Tuesday night. It was raining, and a driver distracted by their phone veered into my lane. I remember the screech of tires, the impact, and then nothing. I woke up 18 hours later in the intermediate care unit of the General Hospital, pain stabbing my side, my face swollen like a balloon. "Have my parents come?" I asked the nurse as she adjusted my fore. She checked her clipboard and shook her head. "No record of any family visits, sweetheart. Someone from your work called asking for an update. I told them you were stable but unconscious." Something twisted in my stomach, and it wasn't the fractured ribs. My parents lived 40 minutes away. My sister Carla, about an hour. They probably didn't know yet. That had to be it. As soon as I could hold a phone, I called my mom. No answer. Tried again. Nothing. On the third attempt, she finally picked up. "Hello. Mom, it's me, Laura." My voice was raspy from the breathing tube they'd removed. "I was in an accident. I'm in the hospital." I heard a sigh on the other end. A sigh. Not a gasp, not a "oh my God" or "are you okay?" Just a tired sigh. "We can't deal with everything right now. Your sister just had her baby," she said, sounding drained. "Is it serious? When are they letting you out?" The heart monitor next to me sped up. I took a deep breath, trying to hold back the tears. "I have multiple fractures, Mom. I'll be here at least a week. They operated on my leg yesterday." "Oh, Laura. We're exhausted. Your father hasn't slept helping Carla with the baby. He doesn't cry, but he needs constant attention." She paused. "I'll call you later, okay? I have to make dinner for everyone." And she hung up. Right then, something clicked inside me. A truth that had always been there, buried under layers of excuses and justifications. I wasn't a priority. Maybe I never had been. My relationship with my family had always followed the same pattern, but I'd normalized it so much, I didn't see it for what it was, blatant favoritism. When I was 8, Carla broke Mom's favorite vase playing indoors, even though it was forbidden. I was reading on the couch when it happened. "Laura, you're the oldest, you should have been watching her," Mom scolded me while cleaning up the ceramic pieces. I lost TV privileges for 2 weeks. Carla got ice cream that night, to calm her down after the scare. At 16, I won first place in the state math competition. My parents didn't come to the awards ceremony because Carla, then 12, had a dance recital. "Math is important, but the arts build character," Dad said when I showed them my medal. The medal that's now in a box in the attic, while Carla's tutu photos are still framed in the living room. At 25, I got my master's degree in finance. I asked to use our family home for a small celebration. 2 days before, Mom called. "Sweetheart, Carla just broke up with her boyfriend. She's devastated. It's not a good time for noise in the house. Can you postpone it?" My party never happened. Carla's devastation lasted 3 weeks, until she met someone else at a bar. And that's how it always was. Me, the responsible one. Her, the fragile one who needed protection. Me, the one who lent money to our parents when Dad's business was struggling. Carla, the one still finding herself at 28, switching majors every other semester. I used to think they'd notice someday. That one day, my effort, my reliability, my unconditional support would outweigh my sister's endless drama. But that day never came. A month after that first phone call, my phone rang again while a nurse was changing my facial bandages. It was Mom. "How are you, honey?" she asked. But before I could answer, she went on. "Your sister is stressed with all the wedding prep. Can you believe the florist cancelled on her? After all the deposit money she paid. She's inconsolable." I stayed quiet, letting the irony sink in. My face was swollen, stitches on my forehead and jaw, a cast on my leg, and a constant pain in my ribs that made it hard to breathe. But the florist was the real emergency. "I'm doing better, thanks for asking," I said finally. "The doctors said the surgery went well, but I'll need months of physical therapy." "I'm glad you're improving," she said, clearly distracted. "Hey, do you remember cousin Sophia? She knows a great florist in the city. Could you give her a call and ask? Carla's swamped with dress fittings right now." Is planning a wedding harder than surviving a car crash? Harder than being alone in a hospital with no one to sign your paperwork or bring you clean clothes? Harder than facing rehab knowing you'll have to get through it by yourself? "I'm a little tired right now, Mom," I whispered. "They just gave me pain meds, and I feel lightheaded." "Oh, of course, rest then. I'll call you another day," she said. Then paused. "By the way, could you help us with part of the catering? Between the baby and now the wedding, we're kind of tight on money." I stared at the ceiling as tears slid down my temples and soaked the pillow. The nurse, who had overheard the whole conversation, gently squeezed my shoulder. "Families are complicated, sweetheart," she said with a sad smile. I didn't respond. I didn't have the energy to explain that mine wasn't just complicated. It was a family where I had never truly mattered. That night, I cried myself to sleep. But it was a different kind of cry. Not just pain or loneliness. It was the cry of someone who finally sees something clearly, something that had been there all along. And with that clarity, something inside me began to shift. On the third day at the hospital, I got a visit I never expected. Miguel, a co-worker from the accounting department, showed up at the door of my room with a thermos of decent coffee. Not that brownish water they served in the hospital, and a paper bag with freshly baked croissants. "Brought you some contraband," he said with a smile, holding up the bag like it was treasure. "Figured you were sick of hospital food." I sat up as best I could, surprised by the gesture. Miguel and I were friendly at work, but not close. We'd gone out a few times with other co-workers, but never just the two of us. And yet, there he was, while my own family hadn't even bothered to show up. "The boss sends his regards," he continued, settling into the chair beside my bed. "Everyone's worried about you. They made you this giant card, but I didn't bring it because the ink was still wet. You'll get it when you're back." We talked about random stuff while I ate the croissant. He filled me in on office gossip, made me laugh with stories about the new intern, and for a while, I forgot about the pain and the crushing loneliness. But when I stopped talking, he noticed. "Will your parents be coming later?" he asked casually. I felt a lump form in my throat. I didn't want to sound pathetic, didn't want to complain, but something in Miguel's eyes told me it was safe to be honest. "They haven't come," I said, trying to make it sound like it wasn't a big deal. "They're busy with my sister. She just had a baby, and she's planning her wedding." Miguel stared at me for a long moment. His expression wasn't pity, it was anger. "Laura, sorry, but does your sister need a breathing machine? Is she bedridden? Because unless she's incapacitated, I don't get how your parents can't spare an hour to visit you in the hospital." His words hit like a punch. Direct, unfiltered. No one had ever spoken to me like that. "Well, they've always been like this," I tried to explain. "My sister is just more fragile. She needs more support." "And you don't?" he asked, glancing at my bandaged face and casted leg. "Laura, listen to me. Your family doesn't see you. They just use you." I wanted to defend them. Instinctively. They were my family. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, the tears did. Miguel didn't try to comfort me with empty platitudes. He just sat there. Handed me the box of tissues from the side table. And waited. When I could finally talk again, I found myself confessing things I'd never told anyone. How invisible I'd always felt, how I was always there for them, while no one had ever really been there for me. I used to think that if I just worked hard enough, if I was good enough, responsible enough, they'd finally notice me, I said. But they never do. "Because it's not about you, Laura," Miguel said gently. "Some family roles are set before we even know who we are. Your sister's the one who needs, you're the one who gives. And as long as you stay in that role, nothing's going to change. His words stayed with me long after he left. What if he was right? What if it didn't matter how hard I tried, because the script had already been written? That night, I didn't sleep much. But something new had taken root inside me. A week after the accident, the doctor signed my discharge papers. I had to use crutches for at least 6 weeks, rest, and start physical therapy once the cast came off. "Do you have someone who can help you at home?" the doctor asked, flipping through my file. "You'll have major limitations for a while. Cooking will be hard. Bathing too. You'll need assistance with basic things." "I'll manage," I said, avoiding his eyes. I didn't want to see the sympathy there. "I need someone to pick you up," he insisted. "I can't sign off on you leaving alone. It's hospital policy." I sighed and grabbed my phone. I dialed my mom's number, already bracing for what I knew was coming. Still hoping naively that I was wrong. "Mom, I'm getting discharged today," I said when she answered. "Can you or Dad come pick me up? I live on the 3rd floor and there's no elevator." "With the crutches." Silence. Then that familiar, tired sigh. "Oh, sweetie. We've got Carla's bachelorette thing today. Her friends are coming at 4, and I still have to prep the snacks." She paused. "Don't you have Uber? We can send you money for the ride." I closed my eyes and let the pain wash over me. Not the physical kind. The one in the center of my chest. The one that hurt more than all the broken bones combined. "Don't worry about it," I said flatly. "I'll figure it out." "Thanks for understanding, sweetheart. I'll call you tomorrow to check in, okay?" "Sure, Mom," I said, knowing that call would never come. After hanging up, I stared at my phone. There was a message from Miguel asking how I was doing. I texted him back, telling him I was being discharged and didn't have a ride. "Don't move. I'll be there in 40 minutes, he replied almost instantly. And just like that, I got home with the help of a coworker I barely knew. While my family threw a party for my sister, 20 kilometers away. Miguel didn't just drive me home. He carried my suitcase up 3 flights of stairs. Helped me settle on the couch. Went grocery shopping so my fridge wouldn't be empty. Before leaving, he added his number to my speed dial. "Anything you need. Anytime," he said firmly. "I mean it, Laura. I don't care if it's 2 a.m. or if it feels silly. Call me." When he closed the door, I looked around my quiet apartment. I should have felt scared. Alone. But instead, I felt calm. That day, I stopped waiting. There was no fight. No yelling. No dramatic goodbye. I just stopped begging for crumbs in a house that never had a kitchen. The next few weeks were hard, but revealing. I was finally forced to face myself. Why had I spent my life chasing love from people who clearly couldn't, or wouldn't, give it? Why was my self-worth tied to the approval of a family that had never truly seen me? The first step? I changed my phone number. I didn't tell my family. I updated my info at work, with my landlord, and gave it to Miguel and a couple close friends. Eventually, my mom sent me an email. "Laura, your phone seems to be disconnected. We need to confirm if you're attending the wedding. Carla wants to know if you're bringing a guest for the seating chart. Please respond soon, the invites are going out this week." I didn't respond. 3 days later, another email. "Sweetie, we're worried. Your father stopped by your apartment but you didn't answer the buzzer. Are you okay? Please get in touch ASAP." I was at physical therapy during the supposed visit. The doorman left me a note. I could have written back to explain. But then again, had they explained why they never came to see me in the hospital? Had they apologized for not helping when I came home with a broken leg? Carla's wedding came and went. I didn't attend. I sent an expensive appliance as a gift, an old habit of overcompensating with generosity. But I didn't show up. I got calls from unknown numbers I didn't answer, knowing they were using borrowed phones. Messages on social media I marked as spam. A month after the wedding, my mom showed up at my building. This time, I was home. I let her up, ready for the drama. "What's going on, Laura?" she asked, eyes red. Why are you doing this to us? Are you mad about something? I looked at her and felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. Not even disappointment. Just emptiness. I'm not mad, Mom, I said calmly. I'm just creating distance from people who hurt me. Hurt you? We're your family, she cried. We've always supported you. You always had what you needed. Oh yeah? Like when I had an accident and no one came to see me in the hospital? Or when I got discharged and you had finger foods to prepare that were apparently more important? She went quiet, visibly uncomfortable. That's not fair. You know we had a lot going on. The baby, the wedding. There's always something more important, Mom. Always. And I can't live like that anymore. It wasn't anger I felt. It was grief. Grief for the family I'd always hoped for but never had. Grief for the little girl who just wanted to be seen. For the young woman who thought being responsible meant she deserved love. For the grown woman who had to literally break to understand that some things will never change. My mom left that day without truly understanding what had happened. To her, I was being dramatic, exaggerating, unfair. And for the first time in my life, I didn't care what she thought. I didn't explain myself. I didn't try to make her understand. I just let her walk away, confused and indignant. Weeks later, I saw a post online. Carla was pregnant again. I wasn't surprised when the messages started coming in. Your sister's nausea is terrible, worse than last time. Your father and I are exhausted watching the baby while she rests. Can you help us out on a weekend or two? Laura, I know you've been distant, but your family needs you. Your dad's tired. We can't handle all this alone. I stared at those messages and felt a strange mix of sadness and freedom. After years of being invisible, suddenly I was useful again. Not to be loved or valued, but to be used. I wrote a message. Left it in drafts. I didn't disappear. I left, because you never found me. I never sent it. Some truths don't need to be said to be real. 3 years have passed since the accident that changed my life. Not because of the physical scars, they eventually faded. But because of the clarity it gave me. They say sometimes you have to break to rebuild yourself properly. In my case, that was literally true. I live in Seattle now, over 3,000 kilometers away from my hometown. The move wasn't planned. It all started 6 months after the accident, when my company offered me a promotion, along with a relocation. Under normal circumstances, I would have said no right away. Who would move that far from their family? But things weren't normal anymore. I wasn't tied down like before. You should take it, Miguel said over dinner at my apartment. By then, our friendship had grown into something steady and comforting. It's an incredible opportunity. And also what? I asked, noticing his hesitation. Also, it's a new beginning. No ghosts. No guilt. No expectations. I sat quietly, pushing food around my plate. My entire adult life, my career choices had been limited by how close I needed to be to my family. I turned down an international scholarship at 23 because my family needed me nearby. I quit a better-paying job at 27 because it involved frequent travel, and what if there's a family emergency? Always available. Always putting others first. I think you're right, I said at last. I need a new beginning. I accepted the offer a week later. I didn't tell my family until everything was finalized. Contract signed, apartment leased, move-in date set. I informed them by email. Short. No room for discussion. My mother called me from a neighbor's phone, hysterical. How could you do this to us? She cried the moment I picked up. How can you move so far away? What are we going to do when we need your help? I took a deep breath before answering. Mom, we've barely spoken in the last 8 months. You don't need me in your day-to-day life. And if there's a real emergency, I can take a flight. It's not the same. Carla's expecting another baby. We're going to need help. Hire someone, I said calmly. You can use the money I've been sending you all these years. Silence. Stunned silence. "You've changed, Laura," she said finally, voice wounded. "I don't even recognize you." "No, Mom. This is who I've always been. I'm just allowing myself to show it now." The move was liberating. Packing my life into boxes made me realize how many things I'd kept out of obligation, or misunderstood nostalgia. Memories of a family that only really existed in my imagination. I donated half of my belongings and took only what I truly needed. A fresh start deserved room for new stories. Seattle welcomed me with endless rain and breathtaking sunsets over the water. I rented a small apartment with an ocean view, started doing yoga to rebuild strength in my leg, and threw myself into work. The first few months were lonely, but in a peaceful way, not the kind of loneliness that used to crush me. I discovered that I liked my own company. That I had interesting thoughts and forgotten passions. Miguel and I stayed in touch through weekly video calls. He was the first to notice the change. "You look different," he said one day, studying me through the screen. "Lighter, somehow." I smiled. I knew exactly what he meant. The invisible weight I'd carried my whole life, being the perfect daughter, the understanding sister, the emotional and financial backbone, was no longer mine to bear. I'd stopped carrying responsibilities that never should have been mine. "I feel different," I admitted. "Like I can finally breathe." Over time, I made friends in my new city. People who got to know me for who I truly was, not who my family expected me to be. I started dating an architect named Eric, who appreciated my independence and never tried to guilt me for having boundaries. The distance gave me perspective. It helped me realize that healthy relationships are reciprocal, not transactional. Meanwhile, my contact with my family shrank to occasional messages, mostly for holidays or birthdays. There was no big fallout. No dramatic final goodbye. I just set the distance I needed to feel safe. Last year, I received a digital invitation to Carla's second baby's baptism. The image showed my sister beaming, holding a chubby newborn, my older nephew clinging to her leg, and her husband's arm wrapped around them. A picture-perfect family. Attached to the card was a message from my mother. "It would mean so much if you could come, Laura. We haven't seen our oldest daughter in so long. Your little nephew doesn't even know you." I thought about it for a moment. Maybe things had changed. Maybe the distance had given them perspective too. But then I remembered all the times I had gone back hoping for change, only to find the same toxic dynamics waiting for me. I didn't respond. I sent a generous gift for the baby, a sweet card, and moved on with my life. Sometimes I think about my mother. I wonder if she ever remembers that sigh when I called her from the hospital. That "we can't handle everything" moment that said everything I needed to know. I wonder if she ever questioned her role in our distance. Or if she just labeled me the ungrateful daughter who abandoned her family when they needed her most. Is it selfish to prioritize your emotional well-being? Is it cruel to set boundaries with people who have shown you, again and again, that they don't respect your needs? Those questions haunted me my first year away. Now I know the answer. There's nothing selfish about saving yourself, especially when no one else will. A few weeks ago, I posted vacation photos from Hawaii. I was smiling on a gorgeous beach at sunset, the sky painted in orange and purple. The perfect image of someone happy and at peace. But most importantly, it was real. I was happy. I was at peace. My mom commented on the post. "So beautiful. We miss you at home. Your dad asked about you the other day." Before I could reply, I saw Miguel had already commented. "Home is where you're actually loved." I smiled at the screen. Couldn't have said it better myself. That night, looking out over the Seattle lights from my window, I thought about everything that had happened. How an accident that could have broken me set me free instead. How sometimes, you have to hit rock bottom to find the strength to swim back up. I didn't walk away out of anger. I walked away out of respect. For myself. Some people will tell you family is everything. That nothing justifies distancing yourself from your parents or siblings. That blood is thicker than water. But some wounds don't show up on X-rays. Some pain is stitched together slowly, through years of being overlooked, dismissed, or made to feel like your needs come last. If your family leaves you alone when you need them most, you're not being dramatic. You're waking up. And sometimes, waking up means walking away, not to punish others, but to save yourself. To build a life where you matter, where your pain counts, where your presence is not a backup plan for someone else's chaos. That's the life I built. That's the life everyone deserves. So if you're reading this, wondering if it's okay to set boundaries with people who hurt you, even if those people are family, it's more than okay. Sometimes, it's necessary. And it might just be the beginning of something beautiful. I started over at 32, after an accident that revealed the truth about my family. Now, at 35, I can say without a doubt, it was the best thing I've ever done for myself. Not because I stopped loving them, but because I finally started loving me. The deepest scars are the ones no one sees. Family love should be unconditional. But when it becomes a one-way street, there is no shame in choosing your own healing. Home isn't always where you were born. Sometimes it's where your heart can finally breathe without hurting. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's self-preservation. The right distance doesn't break hearts, it saves souls. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing to Story Confessions, a space where we share real experiences that changed us. Connect with others who've lived through the same. And find comfort in knowing we're not alone on this path of healing. Each week, we post new confessions, stories that inspire, that move. And most importantly, that remind us there is always light after the dark. Thank you for reading my story.